Mary, excuse me. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 4 o'clock, and this is the April 7th meeting of the McLean County Regional Planning Commission. So I believe our attendance has been taken, and so I'm going to ask if there's any public comment from anyone in on the Zoom meeting regarding our agenda. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to ask that if anyone is watching live streaming, if you would like to make public comments or you have questions on specific items during the meeting, you need to contact Jennifer Six of our Planning Commission. Her email is j6, S-I-C-K-S, at MCPlan, MCPLAN.org, or call her phone number, which is 309-434-6833, 309-434-6833. And you can call her now. She'll provide you details on what you have to do to make public comment. Okay, hearing no public comment from the Zoom participants, we're going to move ahead to the consent agenda, and we'll consider all three items at one time. The minutes of the March 3rd meeting, the financial reports, and the Planning Commission staff report. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda from the Plan Commission? Okay, hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve all three items on the consent agenda?
Mary, I would second.
Mark moves, and Carl, would you like to second?
Yes.
Okay, and this is for approval of the items on the consent agenda. Okay, all in favor, members, voting members of the Plan Commission, please raise your hand or say yes.
Aye.
Okay, we're in the middle of a vote right now.
Olson, yes.
Aye.
Okay, we've got the vote taken. Welcome, Patrick. Okay, and also welcome, Mercy. Okay, so the next item is the regular agenda. And we're going to be talking first, item A, which is consideration of the adoption of the Go Safe McLean County Action Plan. And again, before we move into discussion of that, I want to ask if anyone who is online live stream, if they have any public comments regarding the Go Safe plan, if you would contact Jennifer Six of our plan, she's a staffer with the Plan Commission. She can be reached online. Her email is jsickс@mcplan.org, or you can reach her by phone at 309-434-6833. And she will provide you with details on how to make public comment. So I see we have more people who are showing, arriving here in our Zoom meeting. Charles, welcome. Katie, welcome. Ryan, welcome. Miss Kathleen Lorenz, welcome. Dana Brown, Patrick Holden. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so. All right. So I'm going to turn this over to Julie Heil. No, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to call on Ray now to handle the Go Safe part of the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the commission for the time that we've been, the staff and many people have worked hard and been waiting for is today for your consideration of the adoption of the Go Safe McLean County Action Plan. And this plan has been through a 9-month planning process. I remember back in June of last year during the pandemic when the kickoff of the project started. And it's really a team effort. It is an effort with a lot of community members. We have a project steering committee with representatives representing the different representation and sectors. And also we have a number of subject matter experts in different areas from institutional to enforcement, public safety, health, business sector, and you name it, planning, engineering, public works, and we are from the state level, from IDOT, down to the local governments and the public-private sectors and nonprofits. And so really great group of people who work very hard and put in many hours of work, and also along with public participation, there was the what we call the committee conversations, outreach events that were held. And so with that, we have, with the help of the consultants, which I'm going to turn over to them shortly, to really come up with this draft plan, and then the plan with some revisions after public comments were collected to become the final draft plan that is in front of the commission today for your consideration of adoption. So before I turn the time over to the consulting team, I would like to recognize the project steering committee members and also subject matter experts who are present today. And I know there are a number of individuals cannot join us today, but I appreciate at least the ones who make an effort to join the meeting today. And there may be some of you who join us live stream on YouTube. I won't be able to see you, or we won't be able to tell who you are on the live stream on YouTube. But at least on the GoToMeeting, I would just, if you don't mind, for those who are at least on the project steering committee and also on the panel of subject matter experts, if you would just identify yourself and also the association or organizations that you're associated with, just for the benefit of the planning commission members. And also I would like to extend a thank you for your time and effort to come up to this plan, action plan. Is not a document, but I hope this will be a living document that would help to make our area much safer and really down to zero fatalities or major incidents related to traffic. So with that, I'll just kind of open up whoever on the project steering committee or the subject matter expert panels, if you would just identify yourself and say who you are and which organizations you're with, that would be great.
Ray, this is John Burrow speaking. I'm not able to connect in the usual way, but I'm listening in on the phone.
That's fine. I see many faces. Please go ahead, Patrick.
My name is Patrick Dullard, and I represented Bike Blono and the Friends of the Constitution Trail.
Thanks, Patrick. I saw Dana.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Dana Brown. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Relations for Unit 5 Schools.
Thank you, Dana. Charles, you want to go next?
I'm Mercy Davison. I'm the planner with the town of Normal.
Thanks, Mercy.
Charles Adamal, I'm the Chief Information Officer here at Illinois State University.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Katie, you want to?
Hi, Katie Simpson. I'm the planner with the City of Bloomington.
Thank you. Bob, you want to go? Okay, I don't think we can hear you. Maybe, can you try again? Yeah. Yeah, some technical difficulty maybe. We can hear you, but Bob Nelson is with IDOT. Yeah, for some reason we cannot hear. Patrick, you want to go next?
Sure. Patrick Hoban, CEO of the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council.
Okay, great, thanks. Carl? Oh, you're muted?
Yeah. Carl Teichman, I'm with Illinois Wesleyan University.
Thank you, Carl. Who else on the screen that I'm missing? Who served on the Ryan? Oh, did I miss Ryan? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yep. This is Ryan Gamelgard from State Farm.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I know Phil.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Repeat it again, please.
I'm Bob Nelson. I'm Planning Services Chief at IDOT District 5.
Thank you very much. I know a couple of the other members who may arrive late, but I, again, really appreciate all the contributions. And I also want to note we have some elected officials, at least I've seen Ms. Lorenz want to identify yourself, please?
Yes, here I am. I'm Kathleen Lorenz, and I am on the Normal City Council, and just very interested in this topic. So thank you for allowing me to attend today.
Thank you. Yeah, and we might have other elected officials who might join later on too. So without further ado, I would like to turn the time over to our consultant team, headed by Julie Heil, who is the president of Heil Group, who's been really shepherding, facilitating along the planning process for us and worked really hard with her team members to get to where we are today. And so with that, Julie.
Thanks, Ray, and good afternoon, everyone. We really appreciate the opportunity to bring this work product to you. It has been a very interesting process, one which I would say is kind of, in the end, I think it benefits from having been stood up and completed during COVID. It is a child that was conceived and delivered during a pandemic. And I think that as such, we had the experience of being able to create community as a team, which was a kind of a balm over the course of the last year. And also from a safe transportation standpoint, as our community emerges from shutdown and traffic begins to pick up and more people are moving through the community, I think it creates for us a real window of opportunity for perhaps changing some behaviors in this new post-COVID era. I want to acknowledge my teammate, Jonathan Seiden, to whom I will turn this presentation over momentarily. John, you have been just a tremendous resource to this project, and I thank you for the leadership you have shown here. And also to Firebrand, who has been our graphic design partner, Melanie Shelido and Kay Kirsch, whose work product, pieces of their work product you see throughout the branding, and that I think really lifts the work that this team has done from the page. Again, thank you for the opportunity. It has been a pleasure to do our work here at home. That doesn't always happen for us as consultants. We have enjoyed it greatly. We've loved getting to know this team. And Jonathan, I'm going to hand off to you.
Thanks, Julie. And I would add my thank you to yours. And I think really on behalf of the whole project team, those here and not here, thank you to Ray and Jen for their support through the project. And they were really sort of right alongside us the entire way. So we really appreciate really the entire Regional Planning Commission staff, even some former staff members at this point, people who have moved on who have helped us throughout this process to other jobs. So thank you to you guys, and thank you to the commissioners for giving us this opportunity to work on this project, which has really been a pleasure and a privilege to work with this group and to set this action plan to the page and to put it in front of you today. So thank you. And we hope that you guys are either excited now or getting to be as excited as we are and as some of the members of the community and even the community are already getting to be about this Go Safe project. I would also just say before I share my screen and jump into the slides that we prepared for today, that we really always thought, in addition to the pandemic, that this project is coming at a really great time in just the transportation space and in the world of safety that Julie and I at least know fairly well through our work. Just last week, as a part of the president's American Jobs Plan that he put in front of the country, it includes $20 billion to fund local Vision Zero style projects, specifically allocated in that fact sheet for the American Jobs Plan. So as a part of these big infrastructure bills and a lot of the projects that our new Department of Transportation will be pushing, transportation safety is a headline for them. And we expect that there's going to be a lot of federal and state level funding for projects like this one coming down the pike. So we're really excited to have seen that news last week as the sort of primer for our conversation today. And with that, I will share my screen. I've prepared a handful of slides for us to go through today before we give you all an opportunity to comment and ask us some questions. So I'll just put this up and make sure you all can see it. Okay. And there we go. All right. You guys can see the slides? Okay, so I'm just going to take 10 to 15 minutes here to go through an overview of the project and sort of make a little bit of a presentation here to you about the Go Safe McLean County Action Plan that we've put before you. I hope you all have had a chance to take a look at the report or at the webpage that has been put up or some of the recordings of the community conversations. There's a lot of material that goes or that has come from this project and that goes with this action plan. So we're just going to do sort of a summary presentation today, and then we'll be happy to answer your questions. Either the consulting team, Julie and I, staff, some of the members of our team, we'll look forward to that conversation. So thank you again. The presentation today, we'll talk a little bit about first the process by which this action plan was developed, then a little bit about the team, those who are here, those who are not here that put it together. And then we'll look at, as I said, a sort of overview of the plan, maybe get into some of the details from the plan within our time that's allotted, and then talk a little bit about the community conversations that we hosted in the month of March, and then we'll open it back up for questions. So starting with our process that we went through for this project, and Ray alluded to this a little bit in his opening comments, the last time that I was able to present and stand before this commission was February 5th, 2020, when we introduced this project. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into it since then. The spring of 2020 was full of pandemic-related uncertainty. It was also when we were recruiting and inviting this team to join us on this project. We were able to get our kickoff meeting and host a couple of virtual meetings last summer. Then in the fall, we had our team sort of split up into 3 focus areas to work on parallel tracks, asynchronously to do some written work and research in a couple of different areas that we'll talk a little bit about and that you've seen in the action plan. And then over the winter, we compiled all of those materials from our team and began drafting the plan and worked with Melanie at Firebrand to develop this Go Safe brand to go with our project. Then on March 5th, we were able to reconvene the team to review the draft plan and the brand. We posted the draft for public comment on March 12th, about a week later. We were able to have those 3 virtual community conversations on March 20th, 23rd, and 24th. We hosted those conversations on a Saturday morning, a Tuesday morning, or a Tuesday evening, and a Wednesday morning, so that we could try to accommodate as many different kinds of schedules as possible. We had almost 50 members of the public attend those handful of meetings. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then we had our public comment deadline on the 26th, and here we are today on April 7th, presenting before the commission and for your consideration for adoption. So sort of how we got here today. As I said, after this process timeline, a little bit about the team. So we introduced some of the members of the team that we've got here today. It's a very well-rounded group, a lot of representation. Thank you again to those of you who are here with us today for your generosity with your time and your expertise that you lent, and your perspectives and stories that you lent to this process. As Ray mentioned, representatives from higher education. We have both Charlie and Carl here today. Patrick with biking and Friends of the Trail sort of representation. We have representation from the community advocating for people with disabilities. Mark First, Ryan from State Farm, representative from Rivian, Connect Transit. We actually had a handful of representatives from Connect Transit sort of come through the project over the time we were developing. Downtown business, uptown business, hospitality, healthcare, Boys and Girls Club. So a really great, diverse group for our project steering committee. And then our subject matter experts, really huge support for us throughout this project. Really a massive wealth of knowledge that our public servants in this community have, not just locally, Katie, Mercy, Wayne, Kevin from the town, from the city, representatives from the county as well. From IDOT, Bob, I think our connection to IDOT throughout this project has been one of the absolute highlights. So special thank you to you, Bob, and your team and all the IDOT representatives who we had at the community conversations, which was excellent, as well as the school districts and EDC. We heard from Dana and Patrick earlier. And again, a thank you to Julie and to Firebrand who helped us with some of these visuals. So the action plan itself has a couple of parts. Like I said, that plan is online. I hope you guys have had a chance to review it nice and closely, but we'll just do a little bit of an overview today. So really the 6 parts to the action plan that we've got are the introduction. Really one of the key things about this plan is we really wanted it to be very context specific, very locally specific and context sensitive to our community. So that introduction talks a little bit about the history of transportation safety in our community. There's a great segment on page 5 that talks over the last decade, some of the other plans that have been in place. That this plan really stands on the shoulders of those prior plans. So a nice educational introduction. Our Go Safe priorities, which was one of the things that we really worked on last summer with this group, and not listed here, but those Go Safe priorities with little blurbs in the plan are equity, education, enforcement, engineering, evaluation, encouraging multimodal travel, environmental stewardship, and economic impact. Really nicely well-rounded group of priorities, again, reflecting that well-rounded perspectives on our project team and trying to stay aligned with some of the national projects that are on this topic that use that sort of 4 E's, 5 E's theme. So we really borrowed that from the national scene as well. Similarly, the core principles, a lot of that really is about aligning with this national and international movement for transportation safety. Some of those baseline assumptions that communities really adopt to initiate a plan like this, really just about prioritizing and preserving human life in our transportation system, slowing down, some of those basic assumptions that undergird plans like this that will help us in our plan maintain alignment with other Vision Zero, Road to Zero, Towards Zero Death type plans throughout the country and really the world. I see Vicki joining just on my view screen. So hi, Vicki, another one of our project steering committee members. Thank you for joining us today. So that's the core principles. The next segment we got in the report, I think there's 4 or 5 pages in the report, which is really the data. Again, we really wanted our action plan to be context sensitive, really specific, locally informed. There's a lot of really interesting and educational data that we pulled together for this plan and that we reviewed in preparation for making this action plan. I'd say during the community conversations, the members of the public were really interested and excited to learn about some of this data. And I think even just understanding some of that information about where, when, and who we are the most vulnerable to these traffic fatalities is already a way to start to keep us safe. And again, another really central component of these transportation safety plans when you look around at other jurisdictions across the country. Really interesting data that we pulled together for this plan, and hopefully will continue as a part of the plan. And again, I will speak to that. Target and timeline, Ray mentioned this, that the target that the group really agreed, the project steering committee and the subject matter experts in my conversations really agreed that it's important to have that North Star of a target for our community to rally around. So we looked around and saw what some of the other targets that other communities are using, benchmarked a little bit, and we came up with this target for 0 fatalities or life-changing injuries on our streets by 2030. It's also in the plan that between 2005 and 2018, we've had an average of about 12 fatalities in our transportation system, just as for a matter of scale. And so that target and a little bit more about the timeline is also in the report. I believe that's on page 12 in the report. Finally, we have the 5-year Go Safe strategy and recommendations, which really makes up the second half of the action plan. I mentioned that target and timeline is about a 10-year target for 2030. This strategy and the recommendations, it takes the first half of that timeline and says, here's a 5-year chunk. Let's drive at this 5-year chunk first, and maybe there will be a follow-up action plan if we don't already succeed in this 5-year period. I know, as Ray likes to say, 2030 or sooner. So our 5-year strategy is a 3-pronged strategy. These were the focus areas that our team determined we wanted to pursue during those meetings last summer, and how we split up into those parallel tracks to pursue these 3 areas. And so we had a mix of project steering committee members and subject matter experts conduct some research and really look into some issues on each side of this strategy. And I'll dig in a little bit into each of these, but really what we found was that in all of the plans and the different approaches to this issue, there really is no silver bullet measure to get this done. You really need a comprehensive complementary approach to achieve this fairly ambitious target. And so these 3 things kind of play off of each other a little bit, and you'll read in the report or in the action plan that infrastructure is, of course, an essential component of our transportation system safety. The concept of complete streets is very prominent and important on this issue. Infrastructure, as you all well know, is also something that takes a long time to build and can often be quite expensive to do, though not in every case. And so we can't really just rely on building new infrastructure to keep our communities safe. And we needed other components to make this a comprehensive plan. Data research and technology is quite an interesting component. As I said earlier, you'll really find data in any transportation safety plan like this one across the country. That data is a central component. We knew we needed to lean into that. You'll also find in many, though not all plans, that research and evaluating the policies is another central tenet for these plans. Interestingly enough, in our community, we obviously wanted to represent those core tenets, but we're just particularly well situated with the stakeholders we have in our community to lean into this aspect of our strategy. And so we really did that. You heard we had Ryan here. Ryan is on the call here from State Farm. Charlie here, the CIO at ISU. I mentioned we had representatives from Rivian and Wesleyan as well. So just the research power that we have and the eyes that we have on some of these technologies that are going to really substantially impact transportation safety in this community are really outstanding. And so we did lean into that even a little bit more in this action plan than you might find in other communities' action plans. I think it's really a strength of this plan. The challenge with data research and technology is that it's quite unpredictable, and it's very hard to know when these technologies are going to be available to help us improve safe transportation in our community. Technologies like automated vehicles and other infrastructure technologies. And it's very hard to predict the impact that they will have. And so it's hard to really pin our entire plan on that element of the strategy as well. So that brings us to the third component of the strategy, which is community culture change. And that's actually really mine and Julianne Heil Group's bread and butter when we talk about safety culture and talking about the culture of a community to protect people. And when we think about the limitations of infrastructure or technology, community culture change really does act as a strong supplement to those other strategies, in that it's really the most in our community's circle of control to have those conversations, to make this a much more prominent component of our community's dialogue, and to change those behaviors, whether it's slowing down at a yellow light or really coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, or the way that we walk or drive in a parking lot. These are all behaviors that we can change just through conversation and through building awareness in our community around these issues. And so we wanted to make sure that that was our sort of the third leg of the stool here, and the way that that complements some of the other components of the strategy. So again, overview of the plan, that's sort of the 3-pronged strategy. I'm going to dive a little bit more into each of the 3 as we continue through the presentation here. So on infrastructure, really the headline of the infrastructure aspect of the plan is this map of prioritized street segments. We had the infrastructure group within our project team really take a hard look at the facts around where our incidents are occurring, the number of lanes, the number of bus stops, the speed limits on a variety of major roads in our community, as well as what roads have been prioritized already in existing plans. And coming around that information, the sort of infrastructure focus group in our team ended up with this sort of ranking of 13 street segments that they feel, in order to reach our zero fatality target, ought to be prioritized for improvement. And some of these have already got projects underway. And again, the conversation we have already underway through this project with IDOT and with some of the other agencies, this is exactly the kind of thing that can help that conversation and help those projects move. So we have a map here of those street segments, as well as the listing. In the plan on pages 20 to 25, there's much more information about each of these priority street segments. The infrastructure side of the report also comes with 5 recommendations. Again, the hot headline there is those priority street segments. Some of the other components have to do with focusing on public transportation and bus stop infrastructure, as well as some of that complete streets infrastructure having to do with pedestrians and cyclists, as I mentioned before. The data research and technology piece, I already spoke to a little bit. There's a couple of different aspects to this, of course. And so here are just a couple of the representative pieces from the report. So when we're talking about technology that impacts transportation safety, cell phones certainly comes to mind, which is really becoming, the scourge of safe transportation in a lot of people's minds. And so something we need to really address with our eyes wide open, as well as just the automated safety features that cars have now and are rapidly developing, and the way that that's going to change the dynamic for safe transportation on our streets. Technology has a huge impact, and we really need to incorporate it in our plan. Another technology that gets some page space in this action plan is micromobility, e-scooters, e-bikes, and other personal transportation devices. These are really strong for first mile, last mile solutions. Also university campuses, these micromobility solutions are really cropping up. Our community is a good candidate for these types of mobility solutions. They also come with special safety considerations, and so that's why they're really called out in this report. And I'd say a special thank you to Ryan Gamelgard, who is on the call today, helping us leverage some of the research he's done with State Farm and the Governor's Highway Safety Association on micromobility, that we owe thanks to those reports for this action plan. The data research and technology recommendations are split out into 3 sections. So we've got 4 recommendations here about data. Again, this is pretty straight ahead for projects like this in terms of collecting data, sharing data, having conversations around them, while also making sure we maintain transparency and privacy around that data collection. On research, this is really what I was speaking to before, building that research consortium with the strength that we have in our community between Rivian, State Farm, our higher education institutions, Country Financial, so that we have the experts available to us, and we should really draw on that expertise to evaluate the projects that we're putting in motion, as well as keep an eye on the horizon for some new technologies that we know are coming down the pipe to our community. Finally, the technology recommendations. I mentioned that some of these focus on micromobility, but there are also a few other pieces here. Vehicle to infrastructure communication technology is another really important one. People think about red light cameras, but the technology that's going on those street infrastructures is rapidly advancing, and there are a lot of opportunities there to take advantage of with regard to safety. Similarly, there was a component here added since our public comment draft that has to do with for-hire vehicles. We think of Uber and Lyft apps as a component of the technological component of transportation safety, and how we might engage those for-hire drivers and platforms in this process. Finally, our community culture change piece. And again, we've been really talking up Melanie and Firebrand and the way that they've supported this project. I think it really is on showcase here in this community culture change side of things. And really one of the major drivers behind the community culture change piece of this action plan is that we want Go Safe to be adaptable and to be welcoming for not just the McLean County project, but all of the cultures and subcultures that live within McLean County. So that schools or organizations or the towns within McLean County can adopt and have their own spin-off components of Go Safe, so that again, it could be so context specific and locally owned as a project. So hopefully as well, we focused on the Bloomington Normal urbanized area in particular for this project. Hopefully there will be other Go Safe spin-offs, and these brands can be continued to use in the context of the rural area of the community. We hope to leverage the hours that we spent and the time that we spent developing this brand. We hope that we can continue to use it for a lot of other projects and really spread the wealth around the community in terms of safe transportation. Some of the other resources here on this slide that represent, again, some of the mock-ups and approaches to the community culture change and awareness building piece. Reflective stickers for a kid's backpack, flyers for a bike rodeo. And actually, I've already been in conversation with Patrick Dillard, who's on the call here, about a program this summer that might be able to benefit from a lot of these materials for bike safety. A car visor checklist that any one of us could use to just do a quick walk around before we pull our car out of the driveway. So all kinds of really just accessible tools and welcoming visuals so that we can make this a really prominent conversation in our community and really drive our safe transportation stakeholders to public meetings when IDOT comes to town to ask us about infrastructure that they want a feasibility study or in orientation at the universities. We really want this to be accessible and usable for all of those different safe transportation opportunities we know we have here. And again, we had a handful of recommendations that come with our community culture change piece, really that I'm already speaking to in terms of promoting easy adaptability, really engaging key stakeholders in the community, and working from the data, really all of these community engagement tactics where we can use these brand materials to make this an active and ongoing conversation in our community to keep people safe. Finally, we were able to host in the month of March 3 virtual community conversations that were open to the public after we posted our draft of the plan for public comment. I so enjoyed speaking to members of our community and members of other communities who came to these sessions to talk about Bloomington Normal transportation safety and come to understand Go Safe in this action plan and give us some of their stories and recommendations. You can see here some of the flip charts that we kept, and we really opened it up and had some active discussion with members of the biking community. Several members of IDOT, Federal Highway Administration, came in for one of the sessions. People with children with disabilities came to speak. A couple of advocates of the community of people with disabilities who helped us actually tailor some of the language in the report before we put it in front of you all. Some really good feedback and great discussion during those conversations, really just a preview for where we think this brand can go to engage people in these conversations. And I would just say that, again, having Bob and some of those IDOT representatives in conversation with Patrick and other community members to talk about, well, this crossing and maybe an overpass, and well, I have this experience and this is also so helpful for planning. It really just was a great representation of where I think this project can go. Councilwoman Lorenz was actually at one of our community conversations as well. So we thank you for attending that session and this one, and we hope you had the same experience. It was great to have you there as well. And again, those were on a Saturday morning, a Tuesday morning, and a Wednesday evening recently. And thank you also to the, thanks Kathleen, and thank you to the commission members who also attended and the project team members who also attended several of those meetings. So that's what I've got. That's my I don't know, I wasn't timing myself, but that's my roughly 10-minute presentation there. I welcome thank you again to everyone. I welcome any questions or comments that the commission has for me or the project team members who are here, or Julie or staff. We've got a lot of people who are worked on this. So definitely really interested to hear your questions or comments. And then we encourage you to vote to adopt the plan. We're really excited and we're ready to go. So we really appreciate the opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you, the consultant team. And before I have or invite questions or comments from the commission members, I also just saw that we have a couple more of the project steering committee members who join us. If Vicky and Tony, if you would not mind, just introduce yourself briefly. We really appreciate your effort in this planning process. So if Tony and Vicky, just briefly introduce yourself.
I'm Vicky Tilton. I'm sorry, Tony, were you going to go? Anyway, I'm Vicky Tilton. My husband and I are downtown property owners, and we own Fox and Hounds Hair Studio and Day Spa and the Monroe Center. And I'm very impressed with how this came along. The presentation was great.
Thank you, Vicky. Tony?
Yes, my name's Tony Morstatter. I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club here in Bloomington Normal. And safety is our #1 priority here at the club. And it's been an honor to be part of this effort and to continue on with, educating the young people in our community. So great job, everybody. It's been a pleasure to work with us, each of you on this effort.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yeah, if only, I've seen the presentation by now, I have some sort of idea what the plan is all about. If you haven't got a chance to read it, if you want to do so still on the Regional Planning Commission website, mcplan.org. And just feel free with your leisure. I just want to mention, kind of echo what Jonathan was saying. A lot of people have been involving in the community conversations and public engagement, and kind of through the different circles, and this was great. And then there's some people who actually took the initiative to invite their own circles and other organizations. I'm just so glad to see the ripple effect of the community engagement. Just want to point out kind of on page 5, you don't have to turn to it, but on page 5 of the attachment B, we inadvertently omitted the District 87 that was invited also to the committee conversations. I want to just point that out so that we'll add that back in. And but there's so many other names and organizations that I don't even know, but many of the members took the initiative to invite so many people to participate. So I really appreciate that. And with that, we'll open up for questions, comments from the Plan Commission members, and then followed by any other comments by anybody. So I just wonder any questions or comments from the commissioners.
If I can just say that I am impressed. I didn't get to see the whole presentation and I need to go back in and actually look at it, but I felt so overwhelmed when we first sat down. And I think I even said something like, I'm not sure why I'm here. And now with this presentation, this looks so doable. I mean, it looks like something we can accomplish. And so I just want to again say, I love the way it came together.
Thank you.
If I may, I would just say thank you, Vicki, for the comment. And you did say at one of the early meetings, I think it was the kickoff meeting, that plans like this one and the long range transportation plan, for example, can just be so overwhelming specifically. And that was something that really did stick in our heads through this process. So that was a major point of inspiration for the project. And so thank you for saying that and making that comment, because not everybody would say that during the kickoff meeting. So thank you.
So any comments or questions from the Regional Planning Commission members and staff and the consultants will be happy to try to answer.
Okay, I wanted to point out on page 4 of the plan that once this plan is published, the Go Safe plan and brand will offer a shared framework and language for prioritizing safety across jurisdictions within the McLean County transportation system. I think that's important for our commission members to understand that. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for Madam Chair for pointing that out. And if I may note that the three local governments, the county, city, and town, they definitely has the prerogative. If they want to adopt this plan down the road as is, or if they have modified versions, any additional ideas, and if they incorporate it as their own version, that's totally fine. We recognize this is kind of a regional initiative because the roads don't stop at the city limit or town limit, and it's safety for everybody. It's not just for the residents, it's for the visitors, people who come to work or visit, tourists and whatnot. And so really it takes a lot of cooperation and collaboration. And however, we also would welcome efforts by the local municipalities if they want to go further even on this. So.
Mary and Ray, I have a question. I just wondered, it's a great plan, and I probably missed it because there's so much there. But assuming this is adopted, who takes the lead in making sure it's implemented? And I'm sure it's in there and I missed it, so I apologize if that's there.
No, but definitely it's a very good question. And from staff standpoint, we don't want to see the plan, if adopted, just be sitting on the shelf. As we note that there's so many partners in government officials, staff, from the 3 local governments, from public, private, nonprofit sectors. And as Tony mentioned, safety is #1 priority of Boys and Girls Club in the schools, the kids, and so implementation really is on our mind as well. I think it's, if the plan is adopted, we'll probably have continued conversation with staff of the 3 local municipalities and see if it would make sense for the regional planning staff, be maybe the liaison or the coordinator, because there are a lot of great recommendations and ideas in the plan. We want to have those move forward to be implemented. It takes a lot of effort, and some maybe volunteer effort or efforts by different institutions and entities, and also from on the state IDOT level. And Jonathan mentioned earlier, who knows, this may be so timely that there might be some federal resources to be made available to help to implement this. If you would think back last June when the project had the kickoff session, nobody knew there'll be money available from the federal level to promote this, despite that they have, safety is on their radar for like at least 5-7 years at least, if not longer. But now it is in a great position. And also by our agreement with IDOT, we will also prepare ourselves to join the Vision Zero network, which is, if not national, we call it international, and we did have to make good step for that change. So all this would be efforts for implementation. And who will be the lead? I think that it would depend on the conversation the regional planning staff will have with the town, city, county engineers and planners, and see what would be the best way to implement. But our goal is to implement it, if the plan is adopted, definitely. We don't want to, we actually, I have heard from, I want to mention this major employer in town. They have already expressed the desire to see what the employees can help out in terms of their community service as part of the community service. So yeah, definitely, we need to mobilize the whole community. This safety, traffic safety is not just 50 people, 100 people. We are a county of 140 plus thousand plus population. Even within the urban area, we have over 130,000 population. It's so critical. But I think Commissioner Wiley raised a very good point. Implementation is on our radar.
Ray, could I add a comment?
Please, yes.
Commissioner Wiley, an interesting kind of balance we were trying to strike on this project was to not get out ahead of ourselves before today's conversation. The community conversations, as Jonathan suggested, were a sort of test drive. What is the appetite of the community? What is the interest? What is the conversation like? And I would just say that it was very lively. And I think, so what we were doing there, even as we were getting feedback on the draft work product, is we were testing the waters around what would be the uptake on a coalition-based embrace of this brand and this culture change idea. And so I love the implementation question. I love the who's in the lead question. It's just one that out of respect for the process, we held off on because of course we had to hear from you all about whether it's even a go.
Well, and something that I'd like to add is that we've had representatives like Carl Teichman. He's the commissioner, but he also is with Illinois Wesleyan University, and he has spoken about the problems that students have with safety crossing Main Street. We've had representatives from Illinois State University who have spoken about that. We've had people speak about bicycle safety. We have Patrick Dullard here. Bob Nelson has been in on the conversation with the three community conversations. And I believe Bob can speak much more eloquently than I can about this, but Bob at one of the meetings pointed out that pedestrian safety wasn't necessarily on the highest list of planning when you plan transportation projects, roads that go through like Bloomington Normal Veterans Parkway. But that is something that you stated at the meeting is going to become a prime consideration as a result of this project. If it passes, if it gets a positive vote today from the Planning Commission. So discussion will follow the plan. Would you like to say anything, Bob? Bob Nelson?
Yeah, the whole community conversation was very helpful with me. Not only looking at Main Street, because we have the phase 1 going in on that, but also on Veterans Parkway. And since we had the community conversations, I've taken the time and I'm trying to gather data up on the Veterans Parkway, and I'm going to be reaching out to the MPO so I can get more data on it. And, you know, the roads was designed for cars now. I want to try to get people across it in one piece. So
MPO meaning Metropolitan Planning Board. Okay, yes.
I think I would also just add to this, to the response to your question, Commissioner Wiley, which I agree is an important question, that part of the strategy for the development of the plan that you'll see in the branding or you'll see in the testing with the community conversations is that we wanted the barrier to entry to be very low for this project. That if you want to stand up for transportation safety and you have some kind of funding from some connection that you've got, then you can be a part of Go Safe McLean County and you can pick a recommendation and you can implement that in your subculture of the community. And so I think with the variety of funding opportunities that are out there, whether it's something IDOT's doing a plan for Main Street or a Safe Routes to School grant like Patrick's working on, or something new out of the American Jobs Plan, whether it's the town of Normal or Bloomington or the county or the school districts that are applying and winning funding or providing funding, anyone can go into this plan and read the recommendations and have it be accessible and have it be an opportunity for them to move the ball forward and do their part on this plan. So rather than really trying to put it in one wheelhouse of saying, well, we're the owners of this plan and we're going to say that you need to do this part and you need to do that part by this date. It's more of an approach where people who can read the plan and be excited about the plan and want to contribute, it's accessible to them to be able to contribute as well. And so hopefully that will be a sort of mobilizing effort as Ray described, in that it really can be community-wide in terms of implementing this plan.
And I got one last angle on this. So you can see that we're ready to talk about it too, right? A good friend and colleague of mine who is a former both FRA, Federal Railway Administration, and Federal Transportation Administration research and development professional he and I were in conversation about a month ago. He's working on a project right now that has got marvelous it's got high interest in transportation and technology. And when Mike heard about the details, a little bit of the details that I was telling him about this project, he said, I would love to talk to you guys. We are looking for pilot sites. You seem like a very, very good potential partner for us. And so I think that's another thing that it sounds like we've done successfully, which is positioned the report, which upon approval can sort of line us up for some other interest from granting agencies.
Are there any observations or questions from commissioners? Because we're approaching the hour of 5, so I think that we're going to take a vote here in a minute if we don't hear any more comments. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion regarding this plan. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mary, I'm on the phone. I would move for adoption of the plan, if you're hearing me all right.
Yes, that's John Burrell. Okay, so
Yes,
John,
that's correct.
Commissioner, moves that the McLean County Planning Commission adopt the Go Safe plan. Is there a second to that motion?
I would second with the one change that Ray already alluded to.
Okay.
That's okay by the motion maker.
Okay, so all in favor, raise your hand if you're visible, or say aye if you're on the phone.
Aye. Olson, aye. Yeah, Burl, aye.
Bicker, aye. Okay, is that everyone? Okay, so motion. So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. We're going to continue our meeting for anyone who's interested.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome to stay.
Nice work, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay. So for commissioners, we're going to go on with our regular agenda. And the first is, first we already covered. The second is, we don't have anything from the consent agenda. So let's move on to items for discussion, which is the regional housing initiatives. Lauren Gibson. Lauren?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I'll keep it pretty brief today. Just a few updates. First, from the Housing Assistance Coalition, we've provided over $2.8 million as of now in housing assistance in McLean County since May of 2020. The eviction prevention program that's led by Prairie State Legal and other coalition members is now up and running. We are also planning to hold a town hall at the end of April or the beginning of May, targeted towards landlords and renters to talk about the new rental assistance programs that will be coming from the state shortly. In terms of administration, we've put in our grant applications for the City of Bloomington and Town of Normal Community Development Block Grant programs, which provide roughly 60% of the funding for the regional housing initiatives. They have been submitted to the city and the town for the fiscal year 2022 budget cycles, which is roughly spring 2021 through 2022. The Regional Housing Staff Committee is currently conducting a 3-year review of our regional housing initiative structure document to reflect the evolution of the program since it began in 2018. In terms of research, we have completed a draft brief on housing trust funds and presented that to the Housing Staff Committee. When that is finalized, we will pass it on to our municipalities to take those recommendations into consideration. And that's all my updates. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much, Lauren. Okay, the next topic is the pavement surface evaluation and rating, PASER, project update by Jennifer Six.
Thank you, Mary.
Uh-huh.
This will be short. We are advised, first of all, I think many of you will remember that the intent of this project is to create a data set of pavement conditions in the town of Normal that is done at with the same standard, this PASER standard, as the county and the city of Bloomington, so that we can have a regional pavement assessment process put into place with everybody playing off the same set of standards. The town tells us that they will be completing their consultant selection process this week, so we assume by Friday, and they will communicate that to us as soon as they're ready, and they will be also dealing with the consultant that is chosen. We'll be consulting with IDOT about an extension of the funding deadline, which unfortunately is the end of this month, and looking for possible alternatives in funding to keep this project going. This has been something of a victim of COVID and other staff conditions at the town. So we're looking for ways to correct that at this point. This will proceed when we have the funding determined and an agreement with the consultant is in place. That agreement will be between the consultant and regional planning, much in the same way that with the town of Normal's bicycle and pedestrian plan update, we were the contact with the consultant that handled that project. And it's basically a way of making sure that everything passes through us and we have a chance to look things over. So we hope to be moving forward on this very quickly, and we will keep you posted.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, are there any questions or any topics that anyone would like to bring up before our adjournment? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn at the hour of 5:01? Mark Wiley motions to adjourn. Carl seconds that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Take care.
you.
Bye-bye.
everybody. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
A lot of participants there.
You did. I thought that went really.